Welcome, mortals, to Immortal Issues, where we talk about gods, monsters, myths, and more from around the world. My name's Alec, that's Charlie. Charlie, give the mortals a great battle hymn. Amazing. Fantastic as always. And we'd also like to give a special thanks to everyone who's loving the podcast, liking, subscribing, and all that good stuff here on YouTube and TikTok, especially on TikTok, man. Y'all show up over there. It really means a lot to us to see y'all show up. Specifically, like to give us a little shout out to Kay. Just the letter K, also the person named K. It's a little confusing, but it's fine. It's fine. We see
You're
you.
a real one.
Yeah, we see you every time. Every time you're here. Love you.
Actual love.
And
smooches.
Today, big smooches
Sorry,
from the gods
continue.
themselves. Today, as usual, I don't know the topic, so we're gonna just jump right into it. See what's going on up in Olympus or potentially in Tartarus, or maybe somewhere in between. Who knows?
Alrighty then. So, what's up? How you been?
No, it's been pretty good. I haven't been
Yeah.
smoked. Haven't pissed any specific gods off that I know of. I don't know. I hope.
Alec, how was your week?
That was a good week. It was a good week. Leading up. Really had a couple days off, so I just got a lot done. I say
Cool.
into the void.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I noticed you didn't ask about my week, but I'll tell you I also had a good week, so thanks for asking.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. It was telepathic, but clearly you blocked me off in your mind. But it's fine.
So about that seal herder animation, I'd like to have a few words with you first about a specific drawing that you made of me. Could we address this for a moment?
I'm not sure of the drawing you're referring to, young man.
I don't actually have an afro. I don't know if that was made clear. I don't know where you got that from, but my hair has never been that curly, nor will it ever be.
I don't know. I mean, it's had its curls every now and again. It's just it's been a minute.
Also, the glasses are like the most circular nerd glasses that you could have chosen. What did you just look up, like Urkel from that show from the 90s, and just draw him?
I was inspired by real life events. You have to understand. It's just how
I hope a pack of seals with swords come upon you this eve.
Well, it's a good thing Proteus is on our shores. This will not happen to me. You'll just have to take it up with the gods.
All right, leave me alone. All right. Now that I have felt like the goofball, it's time for you to feel like the goofball.
No.
Are you ready to guess which god that we are going to be talking about based off of a myth?
Yes, I am. I will go into this headstrong and confident, like always.
I specifically chose the hardest one I could find after the whiplash I got after watching that animation. I was going to give you an easy one. No more.
I've done nothing.
All right, are you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. According to Homer in his Iliad, this god was once wounded by an arrow from Hercules during the siege of Pylos, the gate place of setting sun. Pylos was among the rare cities in ancient Greece that were dedicated to the worship of this god. When Pylos was attacked by the Greek hero Hades, Hercules, this god found himself struck by an arrow while defending the city. The wound was deep in this god's shoulder and caused him immense pain.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. All right.
I don't know how I messed up that name so bad, but it is what it is.
You know what? I'm gonna run with that mess up. I think you accidentally gave it away. I'm gonna say it's Hades. I think it's Hades today.
Why would you ever think that? Dude, I tried so hard.
Yes,
No,
I caught the slip.
name was in the thing so many times. No.
Yes.
I was doing so good.
I win. I win.
Okay, to be fair, though, I almost assumed that you were going to get it because we talked about Zeus, about Poseidon. Obviously, we got to round out the big three. Hades.
Oh yeah, but I mean, we just talked about the big two, but there was a split, a little fun bit in the middle where it was it was the entire Odyssey. So I feel like
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
It's not really the weirdest thing.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Hades today.
Ooh.
Now, I'm going to warn you,
Uh-huh.
Hades did not have a ton on him. So you remember last time when we were talking about Poseidon?
Yeah.
You remember what we kind of guessed would be the case for him?
We guessed that he would be the least egregious of the big three because he just by nature of like myths, right?
True. He also, for a couple of reasons, is also the least well known. So obviously, like, he's one of the big three. So like, if you ask, Susie on the street to name some gods and goddesses from Greek mythology, it's probably going to be Zeus, depending on their knowledge, maybe Poseidon, and then if they kind of know what they're talking about, Hades. Fair?
Fair. I feel like I have a little more faith in Susie. If she name drops Helios, I'm gonna drop dead on the street. But
Moving on. So, anyways, the point is that Hades is the least well known, and so there is the least amount of myths on him, which is why I think actually that he's one of the least bad, mainly because nobody really talked about him. Okay, like a lot of the things that I talk about with the other gods, like where did their myth come from? Where was their name originally created? Like what was the origin? Those don't exist for Hades.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's widely debated and literally no one has an answer. They don't even give. I looked up 4 separate like articles and not one of them even gave a guess as to where it was coming from.
Wow, that's pretty nothing. It's pretty nothing.
Yeah,
actually.
nothing. So there's not a ton on him. There's also a secondary piece to this, which is that the Greeks actually were scared to say his name.
Oh, okay.
So the amount of people who were brave enough to actually write about him was even less so. Because the Greeks believed that when you said a word, it had power, and when you wrote it, it had even more power.
Oh,
Yes. So a lot of the poet Horner,
Homer?
the one who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Right, Mr. Simpson, of course.
Yes. He was, if I'm not mistaken, doing it out of respect. Like, if I can't remember exactly. I actually might need. I don't remember whether he was doing it out of great respect for the gods or just basically I don't care because I don't believe in the gods. But that's why he was like totally fine with writing about every god and goddess. But unless they were like a priest or whatever the mythological version of that is, really people didn't write about these gods.
Oh,
yeah. So that is partially why Hades doesn't really show up too much. But and in a lot of the things that he shows up in, it's actually because he's a side character, so to speak, in another myth.
that's just the case for most of the big three. It feels like.
Yes, but at least Zeus and Poseidon have at least, let's say, 5 to 10 myths where they're the main character, even if they're not super interesting or long. Hades has about 2. And one of them is when he's born, and even then, he's the side character. Okay?
Is he the middle brother? Is he in the middle? I don't.
Well, I don't actually know. Honestly, I there is an order. I don't know it, to be honest. I think I talked about it a little bit in Zeus, but I can't remember because I didn't write it down. But I mean, they're immortal, so they're all considered the same age. I don't know who was born technically first. Remember we talked about during Zeus when we talked about the Titanomachy that they don't talk about the time these gods were born in. So like it could have been days apart. Could have been weeks, months, years, millennia. Don't know. So
I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna say, because Hades is ignored, he's the middle child.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with that theory because I think it does make sense.
I think it also makes sense. Let us continue.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna talk just like we did last time. We're gonna go through it in order. We're gonna go over his title, his symbols, a couple of things that he's in charge of, and then take it from there.
Gotcha.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. So let's talk about his title first. Hades is known as the god of the dead, the king of the underworld, and the lord of riches.
Ooh, Lord of Rich. I didn't know that title.
Mhm.
So he's edgy and rich. He's got it all.
Very rich. Yes, he's very very rich. Um, his symbols are the cornucopia. You know what that is?
Um, Fruit of the Loom.
Yes. Yes, it's
Yes.
like basically like a horn-shaped basket that they used to store food in.
Yes. Yes. I was right.
Yes.
Good.
His other symbols include the cypress tree, the narcissus, um,
Huh?
which I'm gonna have to look up later. I can't remember what that is right now, but that's one of his symbols.
Okay.
Keys, just like dangly keychain keys. Serpent, mint plant, white poplar trees, dogs, pomegranates, sheep, cattle, screech owls, horses, and chariots.
Horses. Now, hang on a second.
Yeah,
We're getting some
he and
copyright
his
infringement.
he and his brother have a couple things in common.
They both have a claim to horses. They're in rival
How,
businesses.
however, Hades mainly likes horses when they're drawing chariots. He is not the biggest fan of just like horses in general.
Okay, so he's like, there's not even really a. He's like a car fan, whereas Poseidon is an actual mechanic.
Cor- yes.
That feels right. He makes horses.
Uh fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he likes the horse-drawn chariots, and actually, his preferred method of transportation is a black and gold chariot pulled by 4 immortal black and skeletal horses.
See, how can you honestly read that out and not think that's the coolest shit ever? Come on.
Listen, some of us didn't grow up with an emo phase, Alec.
You don't understand.
It's not a phase, Mom.
It's not a phase. I'm the god of death.
His mom is trying to like brush his hair into a comb over. Like, come here, come here. I'm just imagining the Hades from Hercules, the animated Disney movie with the fire for hair.
Yeah.
And then
it's
his mom
going
just
down.
trying to like brush it. He's like, get off me, get off me.
It's that same Hades, but he's in either a red flannel or or a
A
black
red
hoodie.
flannel.
Yeah, a red flannel or a black hoodie.
That is such a reference that I don't even understand it. Is that an emo reference?
Yeah, emos, at least from what I remember, they liked flannels.
Wow, that is a piece of culture right there that I was so far removed from that I never even knew that.
Ah, you lucky dog.
You just ruined my whole life. I remember you being super emo growing up.
I have pictures, and I sought to destroy them all.
I remember very vividly.
I looked so cool, just like Hades, my favorite god. Let's continue.
Yeah. Anyways, so his focuses include funeral rites. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So he was in charge of like funeral rites are basically what they say when you die, right? It's kind of like the blessings, if you will, at like religious funerals.
Mhm.
So that was one of his focuses. Okay. One of his big focuses was defending the rights of the dead to a due burial. Okay.
Oh.
So Hades did not like it when war was happening and one side disrespected the dead and tried to, like, for example, hang them up or
like showcase their bodies or anything.
correct, do anything with them besides honor them as warriors and bury them.
He's so cool.
Yeah. He was also the god of hidden wealth of the earth. Okay. So hidden wealth of the earth includes fertile soil, gold, silver, diamonds, precious metals, those types of things. So that's where he gets the Lord of the Riches. He actually, like, in the Roman, do you know his Roman name?
Jupiter? No, that's wrong.
Nope, that's Zeus.
That's Zeus. Okay.
That is Zeus.
No, I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
It's Pluto.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
Pluto is short. It's not a nickname, but it comes from the word Pluton or Plauton. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, which in Greek means giver of wealth.
Okay, cool.
So when people didn't want to say the word Hades, or actually it was pronounced Aides, like it was AIDS, Hades was the later translation.
God, even back then
when they
would've
didn't
said-
want to use his name, he was actually known as Pluton.
Oh,
And
okay.
they would be talking about the same god, but it's like a lot of these gods back in the day, the Roman and Greek versions were different faces. They were different, in a way, sections. They behaved differently, but they were the same being, if that makes sense.
Those are words strung together
Yes.
to make a sentence. That is true.
Correct. Yes. So it's a little confusing, but yes. So he was the giver of wealth, and so he wasn't necessarily the god of riches, but like one of his main things, like if you look up his personality, he was very elegant. His palace was very beautiful. Like among all the gods, he valued beautiful things. Like he really enjoyed, like he was basically like if he were, let's say, the modern version of Hades, would be driving around in a Rolls Royce with like a Rolex and really nice clothes. Whereas maybe Poseidon would show up like shirtless to the Met Gala or something, and Zeus would just like, as long as he's got his crown, he'd probably show up naked.
Are you saying that Disney's Hercules showing him in a decrepit, disgusting cave filled with nothing but bats and worms was wrong?
Correct. Yes, those rags he was wearing was not what he'd be wearing. He'd be wearing Louis Vuitton. That's what he'd be wearing.
He was he's chillaxing like a baller at all
Yes.
times of the day.
Yes. So that is where he gets that second name from. He was also called the Unseen One, obviously, right? Because of his Helm of Darkness, or Cap of Invisibility, if you will.
Mhm.
So those are the things that kind of make him him. Obviously, he has the same parents, Kronos and Rhea, same story. He was birthed, got eaten by his dad because he was worried that he was going to take over. Long story short, Zeus killed the dad. They did take over, yada, yada, yada. If you guys want to hear more about that, I go into full detail in the Zeus episode.
Yes, the very
Okay.
first episode of the podcast.
Yes. So moving on from that, let's talk about where Hades lives. Okay. His realm is the Underworld, also known as Erebus. Okay.
Oh,
Now, yes, Erebus was quoted to be a gloomy place in Hades, as far distant from Earth as Earth is distant from the sky.
ooh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty deep.
Yes. So Erebus, if I'm not mistaken, is a part of the Underworld. Obviously, the Underworld is synonymous with the name Hades.
Mhm.
So Hades is also what they used to call it, where you would go when you die.
Okay, see that's what I thought. I was
Yes.
always kind of twisted on that.
Yes, but obviously there are different parts of the Underworld that are called different things. Erebus is where Hades lived.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And this part specifically was far away because you could still get into the Underworld pretty shortly. Like there was like gates and things. So this was not there.
Okay. Just to draw kind of like a parallel to things I actually know. I didn't know. Well, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, so Erebus is the name of just the biggest asshole in Warhammer.
Yes, I drew that conclusion when I read it as well.
Yeah, I did not know that he was based off of anything. I thought that was just like a cool.
So
great.
Erebus is also described as the darkest place in the universe.
Oh,
So basically, by them calling Erebus in Warhammer, they're basically not so subtly saying like, "Hey, this guy's really evil.
hey, this guy sucks. How can you
Hey,
tell?
this guy's
look what his,
really evil."
look what his parents named him. Oh,
Yeah, basically just the darkest dark in the universe,
he
a
was
place
doomed.
where no light escapes.
He was doomed from birth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where he lives, in some glorious palace. Whenever I think about Zeus's palace, or Zeus, why do I keep saying that? Hades' palace, I think of the game Hades, the luxurious like marble pillars, the gold ornamentals everywhere, the red, I'm assuming satin drapes and carpets. Just really, really nice and expensive.
Yeah, very regal, right? Very regal.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was very, very much from what they like the myth says, very accurate.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I had not considered that much the detail would go into that, but yeah, Hades is a great game. So
Yeah, good. Actually, so it's interesting because obviously when you think of Hades, or anyone really, you think of him as the god of death, which is he's the god of the underworld. Technically, he's not the god of death, but that's for another time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the god of the underworld, and everybody knows that. However, what they don't know is that he's also the god of riches to a degree, the giver of wealth, right? All that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in the Rick Riordan series, Percy Jackson, actually, technically, I think it was the second series, not exactly that one. Whatever. There's a kid who's a demigod of Hades, so basically Hades' son. And he actually has the power to control precious metals in the earth.
Oh, wow. Ooh, that's intense.
Yeah, so that's it. I was wondering why he could do that, and now I understand why.
Man, just like, okay. Now, I understand why you would worship Zeus, god of the sky, keeps everything up. Also, if you don't, he'll kill you. But,
yeah,
just on the side, I know Zeus gets the big main shrine, but just on the side, you got this little shrine to Hades, like, hey, I'm going mining later. Maybe put a little gold in that dirt for me. And he'll be like, ha ha, I got you, man. I got you. Look at this. Baza! And then, bam, there's like the tiniest piece of gold you've ever seen.
Yeah, either that or he puts something else in the dirt that kills you and he come down to the underworld and gives them no other soul. Either way, he's down for both.
I believe in a greater Hades.
A true Hades apologist. And actually, that's not bad. We're going to talk more about that. Okay. So let's talk about what you would assume to be the bread and butter of this episode. His weapon, which is really not a weapon, but, his legendary item, if you will, given to him by the Cyclops during the Titanomachy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The Helm of Darkness, also called the Cap of Invisibility, which is like way more lame. So we will no longer be referring to it as that, as the Helm of Darkness.
Okay.
Cool.
That's fine.
We're all good on that?
Much better, yes.
Cool. So it has several abilities. Ready?
You know what?
I'm going to read them to you.
I'll take out a notepad. This sounds like there's a lot of abilities. I'm taking out a notepad.
Gave the wearer invisibility.
Okay.
That was it.
Why did you let me take out the notepad? Now I feel like a fool. Why do I even need this?
Yeah, that's why they call it the Cap of Invisibility. That's all it did. But I have a story to tell you about the cap, so we're gonna talk about it.
Okay.
So during the Titanomachy, basically, you think of Zeus, right? Almighty thunderbolt, just skewering titans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely wrecking them. Poseidon summoning tidal waves, krakens, ruining these idiots, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, Hades was the one who won the Titanomachy. What he did was he actually wore the helmet, became invisible. He walked into the camp of the Titans, and while invisible, destroyed all of their weapons and armaments, so that the next time they fought, they were completely defenseless, and they lost then and there and were thrown into Tartarus.
This guy's playing a rogue.
He literally, I cannot even believe my eyes when I read this. He's actually role-playing. He was doing this, and Zeus made him roll for perception check.
He's literally, it's like you're playing Baldur's Gate, and and everyone fails perception. You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly. Cronus was like, wait a second. Must have been the wind.
Let me re-roll this dice. It's a 1. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Now, Hades had another weapon. Now, you remember how I told you that he and Poseidon shared a couple things?
Yes.
Would you like to take a guess at what his weapon of choice was when he was using his Helm of Darkness?
Okay. Now, if you're going to say it was a trident, I'm going to flip something.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Was it the bident?
It was a Biden.
Yes, yes. I got another thing right. I know my God. I'm setting up a shrine right now. It's going in the closet.
Yeah, he used a Biden. I had never heard of that before the last episode, but apparently it's a thing, and apparently Hades loved it.
Perhaps I should have taught this.
Yeah, maybe you should have, honestly, man. It seems like you knew more about Hades than I did, so.
Yes, the Hades main in Smite goes down with no doubt.
Yeah, so he used the Bident, okay? Now, there wasn't a specific Bident that he really liked or used, so I don't know what it looked like, but again, I'm assuming very gold. I'm assuming some black, maybe some jewels. Assuming something very, very regal.
Very regal, yes. Showing off.
Yes. His sign of power was a staff, however. That wasn't what he used to fight, but that is something that was kind of like another symbol of his for his kind of like in his paintings, if you will. That was something that he held.
So staff like what? Like just a bow staff or?
It wasn't very specific. I'm assuming some sort of like magic staff. They likened it to Hermes' staff, and Hermes has like an actual like in a way. He has the staff with the two snakes on it and the wings.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm assuming it was some sort of ornamental staff that maybe, you would see more similar in, like, video games for Magic and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably like... Oh, actually, you know what? Again, to reference Smite, he had an actual staff, not a bident in the game, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, true. So maybe that was it, and they have a source that I couldn't find. So let's talk about the part of this episode there we all tense up a little bit, our butthole starts to pucker, and we get a little bit uncomfortable. Let's talk about his wives.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
I'm cautiously optimistic.
So before we go in to this part, I want to know your initial guesses. Your initial what do you think we're going to talk about?
Okay. I know that he kidnapped a goddess, I think. Did he kidnap?
Okay.
I don't remember. But there's someone down there that doesn't want to be down there, as you know, as is with everyone, honestly.
Okay.
And then there was that one, I think it was Orpheus or something. There's a woman that was like with Orpheus, and then she got trapped down there. I don't remember the specifics, but I know that those things happened. But those are the only two women I actually know of.
Okay. Perfect. Now, you're not far off from the truth. So, like Poseidon, like Poseidon.
I don't like that. Like Poseidon.
No, this is the good part of like Poseidon. Like Poseidon, he only had one wife. Okay. Now, Hades was married to Persephone, which is technically his niece.
Oh.
The daughter of Demeter, which is one of the original children that was eaten by Cronus, Zeus and Hades' sister. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one who got kidnapped, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Now, Hades, obviously, these are all myths. There may have been more that got lost in translation, but popularly, there were only 2 times that Hades ever stepped out of his marriage. Okay? Which for an Olympian god is pretty freaking good.
Yeah, that's low. That's 2
Very
times?
Low.
That's nutty.
Very low. And it's even, like, in the myths, they talk about how, like, wow, like, good on you, man. So he was with 2 women besides Persephone, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember, Persephone was kidnapped. She didn't want to be there, right?
Yeah.
Wrong.
No? What?
She didn't want to be there, but she was also very jealous.
Oh.
Okay. So he was with a woman named Minth. Woman is a strong word. She was a nymph. Okay.
Okay.
And basically, Hades fell in love with her and brought her into the underworld, and she started living at the palace. Okay. Well, Persephone didn't think that was pretty cool, and so she turned her into a plant and planted her in the ground in front of the palace.
Okay.
Would you like to guess what kind of plant she became? Remember?
Hang on. No. Don't give me any hints. Don't give me any hints. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Pomegranate tree.
Wrong.
Oh.
Now, what does the name Minth sound like to you?
Um.
You got this, Alec. I believe in you.
A posy. Is it mint?
It's mint.
It is mint.
It's mint. Yeah, Persephone was not very happy. And she said, basically, I'm going to turn you into the worst herb on the world, and created the mint plant out of her.
Oh, wait, she made mint?
Yes, she made mint out of a nymph that Hades was banging. Okay?
Isn't mint like, I don't know. You might not know, but I think mint is like super invasive or something.
You know, that's a great question for someone who knows anything about plants.
Herbalists, leave your comments down below about plants.
Yes. Yeah, I know nothing there. He also was with another nymph. He's got a type.
Likes nymphs, gotcha.
Well, Persephone is also like the goddess of like seasons. So like very nature-esque.
Yeah.
You know? So like still basically a nymph, but just more powerful. So another nymph. This specific nymph was a daughter of Oceanus, which is the Titan, if you remember.
Vaguely. But go on.
When she died, she turned into a white poplar tree, which is one of his sacred symbols. I don't believe that one was Persephone. I think that might have been old age or something. I don't really know how immortals die of old age, but she died and turned into a white poplar tree.
Good for her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's it. Those are the only two times that he was recorded ever stepping out on his wife.
You love to see it. I love to see it. No one else.
Which is also very impressive when you consider the fact that he was by himself for 9 months out of the year.
Oh, really?
Yes. Persephone only had to live with him for 3 months a year.
Oh, I thought it was the opposite.
Whatever. No, he had to live with her for 1 season. That's it.
Oh, okay. Dang.
Yeah, so for 4 months or 3, whatever, she was down there, and the rest of the time he was by himself.
So you're telling me that Hades is the actual representation of Odysseus from Epic the Musical, and Odysseus is the opposite.
Correct.
That's really funny. That's messed up.
Yep. And yeah, so like we thought, he's actually the best of them so far.
Sweet. Great. I'm glad to be right.
Yeah. Surprising, but I'm not that surprised.
I am so happy to have chosen the correct guy.
Yeah, he's a what do you call that? Like he's a what is it, lawful evil, or he's the definition of that one quote from Team Fortress 2 animation. Professionals have standards.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess he would be lawful evil because well, is he evil? What's the standard?
No, not technically, but he's just presents himself as evil. So he's more of an anti-hero.
Okay.
He looks very evil, but in reality, he's actually very honorable. And more often than not, in a lot of the stories, when heroes and things seek his help, he just gives it to them. Like no tricks, no games. He just says, sure.
That's not lawful good. I don't even know how I could categorize that. I'll think about that, actually.
He's like the really scary guy at the bar who's like secretly into knitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's actually a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
That Bident is for his knitting.
Exactly, yes. He has 2 Bidents and he uses them to knit. He's knitting little scarves for Cerberus.
Scarves and hats for Cerberus, and a scarf for Persephone whenever she comes home.
Yeah.
He greets her at the entrance to Erebus, Hades. I don't remember Erebus. Um, greets her at the entrance to Erebus, like, "Hello, honey, I made you this," and she's like, "Ugh, ugh, God, this guy."
What do you do? What do you usually do while I'm gone? Wait for you to get back. Wholesome Hades. Wholesome Hades.
Hades was always wholesome. I never had any doubt.
I had doubts, and you'll find some doubts too.
Oh no! Don't
Just
ruin
a few.
this.
Just remember, we already talked about it a little bit. Just one doubt. Just calm down. Calm down.
Fine.
So,
Fine.
how many children do you think that Hades has? Let's do gods first.
Gods first. Okay. Um, given that he did not have many partners, like just generally, I'm not going to say it's that high. With Persephone, well, this doesn't have to be with Persephone. My guess is going to be 5. Give it 5.
Pretty good guess.
Huh?
Is it your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay. The total answer is 3.
Hey, wow. I'm on a hot streak here.
You are. You're doing pretty darn good. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So he had 3 divine children. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They are Macaria, which is doesn't say who her mother was, but she was the goddess of blessed deaths and the afterlife, like a blessed afterlife. So she was basically like an angel.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. There was Melano, or Melanoe, which was the goddess of ghosts. And then there is Zagreus.
He's real?
He is.
Oh.
That is the real son of Hades and Persephone.
Oh, wow.
He's the protagonist from the Hades games.
Yeah, I thought he was like a made up. Oh,
Nope.
okay. Cool.
That's actually Hades and Persephone's only documented real child.
Only document.
Listen, remember, depending on the culture that we're reading from, this has a lot of different endings. And actually, both of the other kids, it's debated whether or not they were actually his, if they were Zeus's.
God damn it. Zeus, get out of here. Nobody wants you here. We're talking about a real god.
Yeah, so Zagreus is realistically, by most accounts, the only actual child of Hades.
Damn.
So, yeah.
I liked. Yeah. What was the one, the goddess of ghosts? What was her name?
Melano.
Yeah. I like that one. Sounds
Yeah.
similar to a disease.
I like Macaria because when I think of the goddess of blessed deaths and blessed afterlives, it makes me think of like a Valkyrie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she'd be wearing that like that kind of helmet, you know?
Yep, with the wings.
Yeah, with the wings. Maybe with serpents instead, actually.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I like these kids, especially Zagreus.
So how many monsters do you think Hades has as children?
Ooh, okay, we skipped to monsters, not even mortals. We skipped to monsters.
Well, we're going to get to mortals, but
okay.
We're doing monsters first.
Okay, I thought you get
There's no
scared.
this does not have any type of sway in the answer. I just did it because it was the order that we went for Poseidon.
Okay, all right. Right, I forgot about that actually. Okay. How many monsters? I'm going to guess like 8 or 9.
That was a really good guess. You know how close you were?
Huh.
Not at all.
Oh.
He had 0 monstrous children.
Oh. Well, I'll be.
Yeah. Poseidon was the only freak.
Okay, well, let's use that word a little more liberally. They were all freaks, but Poseidon was the worst of them.
Correct. And how many mortal children do you think he has?
God, these numbers are so low. 2?
0.
Wow.
He did not. Well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. There are no documents of any mortal children fathered by Hades.
Man.
Yeah. And that woman that you were remembering from the Orpheus story, she was just a lost soul that Hades actually... Orpheus basically was a hero, and maybe we'll talk about him at some point.
Uh-huh.
Long story short, His wife or lover, whoever, died, went to the underworld. He went to the underworld to get her back, and Hades was so touched by their love that he literally let her return to the living.
Uh-huh.
Like that's the kind of person that God that Hades was.
Yeah.
He was mushy gushy.
Well, yeah, but there was like a catch, right? He had to make them go through a trial.
No, you're thinking of a completely different story. He literally just saw the love of someone who was willing to risk his life to save hers and let her go.
What's the story? Okay, hang on. Let me recount this. This still has to do with Hades, so it's not technically off topic.
Yeah.
There was like someone who was a great what is it?
We're going to
played the
get to
lyre.
that in a second because I know what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, we'll just pause for a second, okay?
Okay.
So that is all of the love interest, that is all the wives, and that is all the children of Hades.
Gotcha.
What are your thoughts after reading that?
I'm more surprised than I thought I would be, to be honest. I didn't think he had a bunch of kids. I also didn't think he had a bunch of wives, but there were even less than I thought, really.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Me too.
It's just,
He genuinely is like he's the most human out of all the gods I've read about thus far.
yeah, he just kind of acts normal.
Yeah, and like good.
Yeah, like good, and he's just a law-abiding citizen.
Now let's talk about the not so good.
But my
So-
law-abiding citizen.
I am going to put a trigger warning right here
Oh no.
for anybody. I'm simply going to say a word, but it is part of the story, so do not crucify me, please. But it is crucial that I say this, so if you get triggered by sexual assault and those types of things, now would be the time to skip a little bit.
Oh.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is called the Rape of Persephone.
God.
I'm not laughing because I'm just your reaction.
Yeah, it's just my reaction.
Caught me off guard.
Okay.
Now, it's not the kind of rape that you think.
Okay.
So if you didn't know, because I looked it up, rape means something else in Old English.
Okay.
Or in Old language in general.
Yeah.
This version of the rape is this: an outrageous violation or an act or instance of robbing or despoiling or carrying away a person by force.
Okay, so like in this version, it would be like kidnapping, sort of.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha.
It's the same way that molest also means to bother.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yes. Yes. So this is that kind. So as far as I'm aware, in the actual myth, there was no actual sexual assault, just kidnapping, which doesn't make it better, but it does make it kind of better compared to the other two.
Yeah, it's not Poseidon and Zeus. Okay, we're not doing drive-by pregnancies here.
Correct. So pretty good. So, anyways, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So Persephone, his wife, basically the way that it happened is Hades saw Persephone while he was on visiting Mount Olympus, and he fell in love with her immediately. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Zeus and he says, "Hey, I'm pissed off that I'm always in the underworld and I never have a chance to meet women, and you need to help me because you're like the king of getting women or whatever." Little did he know that his brother was doing terrible things, but regardless, he says, "Zeus, I want to marry Persephone. Make it happen."
Okay.
So Zeus, without confronting Demeter, her mother, says, "Yeah, do whatever you want. Like, who cares?" And gives her to Hades.
Okay.
Hades then takes her back down to the underworld. And as soon as he does, Demeter realized she was missing, and it says she roamed the earth in search for her by day and by night with torches. And when she learned that Hades, or Pluton, had kidnapped her, she left the sky and basically said, "Hey, if I don't get her back now, I'm going to start a famine on the earth so bad that humanity will cease to exist."
Damn. Okay.
Zeus, not really being a fan of that, because without humans, it's really hard for Zeus to get any worship, was like, hey man, I think we need to figure something out here. And basically said to Hades, give her back. And Hades, being, the sly gentleman that he is, decided, you know what? Yeah, you can go, but I got something for you first. And he gave Persephone a pomegranate seed. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Persephone, having no idea as to why, she's like, okay, if you're telling me I can go back to Mount Olympus and the only thing I have to do is eat this seed, count me in, boss, I'm down. And she eats it, no problem. Now, do you know what happens if you eat food from the underworld?
I actually don't.
You lose the ability to taste food from anywhere else.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep.
That's not cool.
It tastes like dust and ash in your mouth. So she was basically, part of being a god, a goddess, is the ability to eat, sleep, drink, bang as much as you want for the rest of eternity.
Uh-huh.
Hades basically took that away.
Yeah.
No
Sure.
wine, no food. All of your senses basically start to numb unless you're in the underworld.
Oh.
And it's not just food either. It's pleasure. It's everything.
Oh, buddy.
So she literally was almost dead when she wasn't in the underworld.
Okay, wait. That almost kills her?
No, like almost dead
oh.
in the sense that she can't sense anything. Like everything is just dull.
Yeah, okay. So it's like a constant, it's almost like a constant ringing, sort of.
More like a depression, if we're being honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
She was basically just super depressed. So basically, her mom, still not like super down with the idea of her living down there, was like, hey, let's come to a conclusion here. Zeus kind of was like between them, like, hey, back up. And kind of like sought it out between them and sorted everything together. And what they agreed upon is that Persephone would spend 2/3 of the year in Mount Olympus with her mom and the rest of the gods.
Uh-huh.
And she would spend 1/3 of the year with Hades.
Okay.
This is how we get seasons. When Persephone, the god of seasons, or the god of flowers and nature and this and that, whatever, goes down to the underworld, it's when winter happens and everything dies.
Okay. A little dramatic, but I get it.
Yep. So that is how we get everything else. When she comes back, everything starts to bloom again. It's spring into summer, and then things start to die as she gets more and more tired, more needing of the underworld's food, and then she goes, everything is dead, and it cycles over and over and over again.
Okay. All right. That's a cool origin to seasons.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool too. So that is the one not so great part about Hades so far.
Okay, despite the name, which maybe the story is just not, it needs to a little bit of a renaming here. That's still technically, it's still bad. Never mind, I can't defend it.
It's not, to be clear, it's still not as bad as anything that the other two have done.
Yeah, it's like the lowest common denominator between them is just.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? I can't.
So yeah, so that was basically how he met his wife, essentially, right?
Yes.
And then there's realistically only one other myth.
Oh, okay.
But this one, there were some like other ones too, but they were like essentially just informative. They weren't even interesting at all, so I just decided not even put them in.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about the other one, which is my personal favorite, something I didn't even actually know, and I'm really, really excited about.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yep.
So, this one involves Hercules, or Heracles, as he's more commonly referred to in the myths.
Mm-hmm.
During the course of his tragic life circumstances, Hercules had to serve his greatest enemy king, Eurystheus. Okay. Now, we're not going to talk too much about who that is or yada yada, because I guarantee we'll do an episode on Hercules at some point.
Uh-huh.
But this is part of the 12 labors that he had to do to essentially become a god. was realistically what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hercules' final labor, the 12th and most impossible task, was that he had to steal the 3-headed dog Cerberus from the realm of Hades.
Just the whole dog?
The whole dog. He had to steal it. Okay.
Okay.
What he did is with Athena's help, he found the entrance to the underworld and eventually found Hades himself. Okay.
Mhm.
But instead of trying to steal the dog, he said to Hades, "Hey, I want to borrow him, but I'll bring him back."
Okay.
Hades straight up was like, "That's fine. Do what you need to do," and agreed that he could do it as long as, 1, he had to capture and subdue the dog on his own, 2, he could not use any weapons, and 3, Cerberus could not be injured.
Okay.
Like, very, very realistic and wholesome rules.
These are very reasonable rules for a labor
That's
by the gods.
Very reasonable rules.
Yeah.
He could have said, tie your hands behind your back and you have to do it with your teeth or something, or like fight through these demons first or whatever. He could have said all these things, and he's like, "No, just don't hurt my dog. Bring him back safely. I'm good."
Yeah, Zeus would have been
Do
like,
you, bro?
Zeus would have been like, all right, you have to do this with your ankles tied together by by string that would cut them off otherwise. And if you use either of your arms, I will headbutt you personally.
Literally, yes, yep. So he basically goes to Cerberus, and he overpowers Cerberus with his bare hands, ties him up, slings him over his back, and carried him back to the king in Eurystheus. He then, after the king sees Cerberus, he unties him, and Cerberus runs on his own back to the underworld and goes back to guarding the gates of the underworld. Good boy.
Hades is waiting for him with
Come
like
here,
a
boy.
body
Come
or
here.
something. Like, hey buddy,
Come
how'd it
here,
go?
boy.
Hey buddy, how'd it go?
Yeah.
I like to think
Very wholesome, very good guy.
yeah, he's just taking care of business. Genuinely, that's just what he does.
He's just a good guy. I read this and I was like literally, he just cares about his dog.
He cares about he honestly seems like he cares about his like domain, his wife.
Yeah. And like, to a degree, if you really consider it, right? He does a good job at what he does. Like, his job is to basically judge people. And this is, back school, olden days, like yada, yada, yada. So the people who are suffering in hell, right, in the underworld, deserve it. The people who don't go to the good place and they're rewarded. They get to hang out. They're vibing.
Yeah.
Like, he's not mean. He's not evil. He's the best god I've read about thus far, and it's not even close.
Yeah, so far, like, God,
and I'm not even talking about just for the podcast. I'm talking about in general.
So far, just generally speaking, he seems like the least malicious, just overall, right? Like, you'd expect the way that just most media portrays Hades is he's conniving, or it's mostly Disney's Hercules, but other than that, he's conniving, he's like rotten or whatever, he's the villain. And then, Zeus is never portrayed that much better, except again for Disney's Hercules. But like, Hades is always portrayed as the villain, but I really am not getting that at all.
Think about it this way too. Remember the one I read you at the beginning when you were trying to guess? He was injured defending a place that worshipped him.
Yeah.
When Poseidon didn't get what he wanted, the worship he wanted from that place that he was arguing over with Athena, he essentially killed millions.
He cursed them with a drought, man.
But Hades, they got attacked by one dude, and Hades, the god, showed up to fight for them. And got injured for them.
He's just that guy. He just is that guy.
I think I may it may have swayed, like reading all this, doing this research may have swayed my opinion on Hades, because in my opinion before this I thought Hades was by far the least cool.
I could like
I am a huge Hades fan after reading this.
yeah, I'm like my enjoyment of Hades. God, man, he's edgy, but like he's cool. You know, like he's a
Yeah,
cool guy.
he's cool because he's so good. I'm a big fan. We're going in circles now, but yeah, he's a cool guy. I love me some Hades.
Huge fan of Hades, man. Huge fan of Hades.
Yeah, and but I mean, the sad part is that's all I got. I know we kind of talked about him for a while, right? Like that was kind of a bit, but you know, like there was not that much. I have the least amount out of any script I've written so far for
Yeah,
this guy.
I mean, in terms of information, that is genuinely the least. Like, God, we have a lot. We had a lot for Zeus. We had a decent chunk for Poseidon, but I want more.
Poseidon was the longest script I had written so far. It was almost 5 pages.
Yeah, I
It just goes to show you how human beings feel about gossip and drama
I was gonna say
versus someone who's actually doing good.
they're seeing a dude on the street that's like helping the homeless, and then they look to the right, and there's just this guy that looks like an asshole. Like, oh, this guy,
Oh, this guy.
this guy.
That's the celebrity wedding versus the actual humanitarian.
Yeah. There's. Oh man, that like people make up a cool guy. I have to imagine, right, that when this was being thought up, people were thinking like, man, we have so many like shitty gods. What if we just had one cool one and there's like, I got this, and then nobody talked about him. Everyone was like, ah, yeah, it's cool. Anyway,
Well, because they created it and then they were like, "Oh, he's the god of the dead. I'm actually terrified to even mention him."
dude, he's on the side of the road handing out flowers, like saying, have a good day, and he's like, ah, that guy's gonna mug me.
Literally. Literally.
Man, that sucks.
So yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's Hades. That's the god of the underworld, the lord of riches, if you will. The lord of drip,
Yeah, Lord,
if you would be so inclined.
Lord of my heart. Like, man, that's that guy right there. That's the guy you can call up and be like, hey, can you help me out? And he's already there. Like he's outside in his pickup.
Yep. Pick up.
Sorry.
Well, let's not forget. He's outside in his G-Wagon,
In his G-Wagon.
his Range Rover.
His 20-seat long limousine.
Yes, correct. His Hummer limo.
He's got a Hummer. No. Hades wouldn't drive a Hummer. Maybe he would, actually.
He would be driven in a Hummer.
He would be driven in a Hummer by a horse.
Yes. I'm imagining the horse, though, not being like pulling the limo, being the driver, like sitting upright, driving the thing.
Yeah, talking. He rolls down the window, goes, yeah. And then Hades like, yes, that's right. And then he actually still tips him. He works for him, but he still tips him.
Yeah, well, he doesn't even work for him. The horse in this instance was created by Hades to be a slave for life, and he still tips him. Literally a creation of Hades to do nothing but that job, and he still gives him a carrot every time he gets out.
Oh my god. All right, well,
He pats him on the head. Good boy.
good. God, what would Hades name it? What would Hades name his what's that word? Chauffeur.
Chauffeur?
Chauffeur. That's the name of it.
Ooh, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I'm thinking like Ainsley or something like that.
Yeah, something regal sounding like
Yes.
Isaac or
What?
I don't know. Isaac has always sounded like a regal name, but now that I think about it,
No.
no, rude. Anyways, all right. Well, we're all building shrines to Hades now, so I'm glad that we're all on this train together and that I speak for everyone here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm down.
Totally down.
Awesome. Well, that's it.
Yeah. That's Hades. I'm actually sad that there's not more.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Yeah.
maybe in the future we'll talk more about Hades in some other episodes. But yeah, you wanna round us out, sir?
Yep. Yep. Let's call it there. That's, gosh, man. Again, like I love more of Hades, but the most I'm gonna get is playing Smite, and I don't want to do that.
Bad plans.
Bad plans. That leads to bad places. But anyway, all right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. That was the last of the big three original Greek gods. I'm not sure what we have planned for next week. I hope it's not going back to the status quo of Greeks, but I mean Hades is okay. Hades is the golden boy. So God, literally, he's perfect. I'm sorry. Anyways, we will see y'all next week. We will hopefully make the deadline of Wednesday, but if not, I'll of course let everyone know. We'll let everyone know. But forecast, we should be fine. Again, yeah, thank you for listening, and we will see y'all next week.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Peace out. I will be inspecting your shrines. Please send me pictures in any way you can. Thank you. Good night.